Hi guys, I'm a Forester here with another knife review. Today I'm going to be talking about the Benchmade 915 ORG Triage. Now this is a knife that may save a life one day. This isn't a knife that I'm going to carry, ever. It's too heavy and the aggressive G10 makes it harder to get in and out of my pocket. This isn't a knife that's fun to play with. I don't sit around flicking it open and shut. Never have. This isn't a knife that I'm going to demonstrate either, cutting seatbelt stock and such. I want my Triage with the factory edge if I ever have to use it. So this particular knife may never get used, and I'd be happy if that were the case. That's because the Triage is a rescue tool, one that stays in the center console of my truck all the time. I bought 2 of these, but I'd love to have one in every single vehicle. Basically, it's 3 tools in one: a utility knife, a seatbelt cutter, and a glass breaker. I could have really used that glass breaker several weeks ago, but the knife was locked inside my car. I'll put a link to that breaking and entering video below. Here's an aside, but when you think of a rescue knife, do you imagine using it to extricate yourself from a wreck or somebody else? I always think of cutting my own seatbelt and breaking out the window, but chances are you'll be using it to save somebody else before you use it on yourself. I needed it when a wreck occurred right in front of me a couple of years ago while driving on the interstate. Instead of breaking out a window to let the trapped passengers out, several of us men had to force open a rear tailgate window. Now let's get into the knife itself. And this 3.5-inch blade is made from N680 steel. It has a modified sheep's foot shape, and I think that's to prevent an accidental stabbing. The blade is thick for added strength. I don't have a dimension on it, but I think you can obviously tell how thick it is. Now this is the factory edge. I haven't done anything to it since I've had it, and let's see how it does with paper. Here's an interesting aside. But my family is from Morganton, North Carolina. My grandmother used to write a column for the News Herald, and this is paper that's left over from years and years ago, where she used to write a column for the News Herald, put her name, place, date it, and mail it in. That's before the days of email. But let's see how it does. I'm really surprised that it's as sharp as it is. It doesn't feel all that sharp, but I'm pleased with that. Now the G10 handle scales are very aggressive in their texturing. Let me give you a close-up of the scales. I'd compare the aggressiveness to my Emerson Gentleman Gem. This knife isn't going to go anywhere when you're using it. The safety orange color makes it easy to find in the console or on the ground. Now the axis lock is dependable and very strong. The blade deploys smoothly and it locks up solidly. The seatbelt cutter is just a little awkward to deploy because of the size of the thumb stud. Let me give you a close-up of that thumb stud. You can tell it's low profile, and I think it would help a little bit if it stuck out just a little bit further. I'd love to test this cutter on seatbelt material, but this paper is going to have to do again. And it goes through that like through warm butter. Now, as I mentioned, I could have used this glass breaker on my car the other week. That would have been a neat video. I'd like to compare it to that ball peen hammer that I ended up using. All in all, this is a great knife. Not because it's fun to play with, show off, or particularly good looking. It's a well-designed tool that could save a life one day. You need to have one too. Take care and be safe.